Gary Lineker will return to BBC screens this weekend after being reinstated as host of football programme Match of the Day. He was taken off air over his tweets criticising the UK government's new illegal migration bill. BBC's move was met with a backlash, with several of Lineker's colleagues boycotting the broadcaster in solidarity. The BBC apologised for the episode and announced an independent review into its social media usage guidelines. In an exclusive report filed by Reuters, Chinese President Xi Jinping is planning to travel to Russia to meet with his counterpart Vladimir Putin as early as next week. After successfully brokering talks to restore diplomatic ties between Syria and Saudi Arabia, the report claims that China has been offering to broker peace in Ukraine. Britain's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak met his Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese ahead of the AUKUS meeting in San Diego, which will announce a way forward for Australia to receive nuclear-powered submarines in the biggest ever defence project. US President Joe Biden will join the two leaders as the three nations discuss ways to counter China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Australia is expected to buy up to 5 US Virginia-class nuclear-powered submarines in the 2030s as part of the landmark agreement to be revealed in detail by Biden, Albanese and also Sunak. North Korea has announced that it has conducted submarine-launched cruise missile tests. The tests came a day before United States and South Korean militaries begin large-scale joint military drills that North Korea views as rehearsal for an invasion. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un had earlier ordered his troops to be ready to repel its rivals' quote-unquote frantic war preparations moves. The joint drills between United States and South Korea have begun and are set to be the biggest in 5 years. The drills, called Freedom Shield 23, will last for about 10 to 11 days. Reactions have come from South Korea after North Korea's submarine missile test. South Korean government has said that North Korea should realize that there is nothing they can earn from escalating tensions on the Korean peninsula. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff has said that military is on high alert, and the country's intelligence agency is working with its US counterpart to analyze the specifics of the launch. Now, Japan is on high alert after North Korea launched cruise missiles from a submarine in an apparent protest of joint drills between the United States and South Korea. Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary has said that while the country will stay vigilant, authorities are yet to determine if the missiles flew into the country's waters. According to reports, Japan and US military bases are in striking range of the missiles. Meanwhile, the Cabinet Secretary said that Japan would continue working closely with the United States and South Korea while collecting all the necessary information and analysis. A second US bank has collapsed in a matter of few days after the Silicon Valley Bank. The New York Department of Financial Services has announced that it has taken possession of Signature Bank and appointed the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation as the bank's receiver. The move comes 2 days after Silicon Valley Bank collapsed as depositors rushed to withdraw their funds. According to reports, at more than $110 billion in assets, Signature Bank is the third largest bank failure in US history. At least 8 people have died after 2 fishing boats capsized off the coast of San Diego in California in an apparent migrant smuggling operation. San Diego emergency crews began a search after receiving an emergency call for a Spanish speaker about fishing boats in distress off the coast of Black Beach in San Diego. Officials have not confirmed the nationalities of the victims, however, told that they were all adults. They say it is one of the worst smuggling tragedies in California. Officials further informed that hazardous weather conditions likely contributed to the incident. Now, battle for Bukmuth intensifies as both sides claim loss of hundreds of enemy troops. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Russian forces suffered more than 1,100 dead in less than a week of battles near the eastern Ukrainian city. He also said that Russian forces sustained about 1,500 sanitary losses and that soldiers are wounded badly enough to keep them out of further action. While Moscow has not specified the exact number of casualties, both sides admitted to suffering and inflicting significant losses in the city of Bukmuth. A close ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin and head of Russian mercenary group Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has said that the situation in Bukmuth is quote-unquote very tough. In an audio statement released by his press service, Prigozhin said that the closer his fighters get to the center of the city, the harder the fighting becomes and more artillery and tanks target his soldiers. Prigozhin further explained that the members of the Russian army helped his troops with the ammunition. Wagner fighters have spearheaded the assault in eastern Ukraine for months, focusing their efforts on the small cities like Bukmuth. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan visited 10 cities and community leaders in Hatay province as the area is struck especially hard by the February 6th earthquake of magnitude 7.8. The earthquake left hundreds of thousands of people across 11 provinces sheltering in tents or temporary accommodation. The death toll from the earthquake has now risen to about 47,975 in Turkey alone, including around 6,000 more foreigners. Both Erdogan and his government's response to the natural disaster has come under the spotlight, with critics accusing them of failing to prepare the earthquake-prone country for a disaster in waiting. Amid the ongoing nationwide protests against the pension reform bill, French government spokesperson has said that the government will not give up on the bill. 195 members of the upper house of the French parliament voted for the text, whose key measure is raising the retirement age by 2 years from 62 to 64, while 112 members voted against it. Now that the Senate has adopted the bill, it is likely to be reviewed by a joint committee of lower and upper house lawmakers on Wednesday. Meanwhile, protests and rolling strikes have affected refineries, public transport and garbage collections, aimed to pressure the government to withdraw the pension plan. An opposition lawmaker has accused Moldovan President of trying to suppress peaceful anti-government demonstrations. The lawmaker told journalists that her party has collected about 700,000 signatures demanding new elections, but said that she was prevented by police from taking them to the government. The main opposition party denounces the president for taking the side of Ukraine in the war, saying that this increases the chance that Moldova could become embroiled in the conflict. Thousands of people protested over the weekend against safety deficiencies in Greece's railway network and to demand the punishment of those responsible for the deadliest accident in the country's history. On February 28th, at least 57 people were killed when a freight train and a passenger train that had been mistakenly directed to the same track collided head-on in central Greece. In Athens, more than 8,000 gathered outside the Greek parliament, and this is according to the police. Exiled Tibetan women staged a protest in India's northern hill town of Dharamshala as they marked their 64th uprising day. On March 12 in 1959, Tibetan women risked their lives and poured onto the streets of Lhasa city and staged a peaceful resistance against Chinese forces. Protesters with flags and posters marched while calling for freedom of Tibet. Every year, the anniversary is commemorated by widespread protests across the globe, especially in Dharamshala. Hundreds of people took to streets of Mexico City to support Mexican soldiers who are in prison for crimes allegedly committed on security missions. Dressed in green, about 400 people marched in defense of soldiers. The protesters specifically called for the release of 4 soldiers detained for their alleged involvement in a massacre in northern Mexican border city. A local human rights group alleged in February that the soldiers killed about 5 unarmed young men driving to their homes in a pickup truck. Colombian National Police dispersed protesters and lifted roadblocks that disrupted movement and supplies of food and medicine to rural municipalities. Gold miners were protesting against the destruction of 9 dragons, which are floating machines that suck up silt and mud from rivers in search of alluvial gold. Government said that machines were damaging the environment and endangering the lives of people living in the region. According to government ministers, up to 300,000 people have been impacted by the latest protests. Indoor masking is now optional in Japan, eased its coronavirus guidelines on mask wearing. Japan's government has eased its mask guidelines, recommending them only on crowded trains and in hospitals or care homes. However, there was little sign residents were keen to unmask, as most of them continued to wear masks both on public transport and even outdoors. Authorities in Indonesia's popular holiday island of Bali have asked the Central Immigration Agency to cancel a visa-on-arrival policy for Russian and Ukrainian nationals after tourists were found working illegally. According to official tourism data of Bali, Russian nationals are among the biggest groups of foreign arrivals in Indonesia. At least 4 Russian citizens were deported this month after visa violations. Immigration authorities have repeatedly warned foreigners in Bali against working on tourist visas. Cyclone Freddy batters central Mozambique after making landfall for a second time in a month. It has been breaking records for the duration and strength of tropical storms in the southern hemisphere. Communications and electricity supply in the storm area have been cut off to reduce the extent of damage. At least 1 person was killed on Saturday. According to UN official for the coordination of humanitarian affairs, more than 500,000 are at risk of being affected in Mozambique this time. The daughter of Jordan's King Abdullah II, Princess Iman, tied the knot with Jamil Alexander, a financier of Greek origin, at a ceremony at the Royal Palace west of the capital of Oman. Born in 1996, the princess is King Abdullah and Queen Rihanna's eldest daughter. The Jordanian royal court has announced their engagement in July. The marriage ceremony was held in the presence of Jordan's king, queen and other members of the royal family, as well as the groom's family. As Alps experience warmer temperatures and low snowfall, alternate activities that do not require snow are now being offered at French ski resort Morzine. Activities range from skiing with eagles, paragliding and being pulled by horses along a trail. While it has been an off-season for winter sports enthusiasts travelling to Morzine this month, a fresh spell of snow is expected ahead in March.